Hi guys, Bran here, and today I wanted to talk about the real reason that Dead Hard and I guess Sprint Burst as well, basically any sort of really strong exhaustion perk creates a really big problem with the game, and why I think ultimately that this meta with exhaustion needs to go away. Because I want to point something out to you that shows exactly why those perks are strong. It's better than just, oh well, they make you whiff an attack, because that's kind of like the main counterpoint to why exhaustion perks are okay. It's like, oh well, you just whiff an attack and then that's it. You just whiff once. How does that create a problem? I'm going to show you how to create a problem. Before we get started, make sure you like the video if you like my content, and if you want to see more of my daily uploads, make sure you subscribe. Use your words, use your adult words, friend. Subscribe if you want to see more. Other than that, let's get on with the video. So I do want to say that I do agree with that sentiment. That, oh, the survivor dead hards and they just whiff once and that's it. That's not that big of a deal. Like, yeah. So when you're in a chase lasts 10-15 seconds. And then you swing and then they yeet by. They use their dead hard. They go, whoosh. So they scoot by you and they probably will make a window, probably make a pallet. If they don't, then that's going to last on average 5 to 10 more seconds. If they have a powder window, the chase is only going to last maybe 15 more seconds. So let's take that number, right? So let's take that number on average between those two. So let's say a chase on average is extended only by 10 seconds by the use of Dead Hard. I know it can be more, I know it can be less. That's just kind of where that's a general area of how long it will last between those longer chases and between those shorter chases extended by Dead Hard. So let's say that you only extend a chase by 10 seconds when you use your Dead Hard. That's not that much, and that much is what usually Survivor mains point to when they're like, hey, Dead Hard's not that bad. It only extended the chase by 10 seconds. That doesn't have a huge impact on the match. However, you almost never see a single Dead Hard in a match anymore. More often than not, you're going to have at least 2 Dead Hards on your team, if not more. You're probably going to have 2, 3, 4. You're going to have 2+ on your team, just because it is the most used survivor perk in the game. So on average, you're gonna have 2 or more of these dead hards in your match. More often than not, you're gonna have 3 or 4. So if you have 3 or 4 dead hards on your team, that's not 10 more seconds added to a chase. That's 10 more seconds added to every chase, excluding if you're like Bubba or Hillbilly. That or Ghostface or Myers. Anyways. That on average is going to be 10 seconds added to every chase in the game, period. That is a huge impact. That is a huge impact on the match. Huge impact. Let's say we just do the first time. Oh, and this is it. There's going to be more. Let's just say we do the first time Dead Hard is used every time in a match. Let's say it's a quad Dead Hard team. Everybody brought Dead Hard, which is very common nowadays. Everybody uses Dead Hard. It all extends the chase by its average of 10 seconds. That's 40 seconds for the whole team. That's 40 seconds in the match that has been bought for the team. If you're doing on a gens are only 47 seconds if you're doing. And that's not even talking about if people brought toolboxes, if people brought Prove Thyself, if they got brand new parts. You can get a gen done with 2 people on it in that time. Or just under. You have bought the team a gen just by all of you bringing 1 perk into the match. That's it. Just because you all brought that perk and extended the chase past that point, while it doesn't seem bad in the moment, because it's just oh well, I just went in for 10 seconds. It's not that big of a deal. If the whole team does it, even only the first time that they use Dead Hard, all 4 of them, that is still 40 seconds on the match that has been bought for the survivor side. And that is enough to almost do a gen duo. It is more than enough time to do a gen trio, and it's half a gen done on solo. Half a gen done just because you guys brought a perk into the match. That's very strong. That's very strong. And that's literally only the first time they use it. Dead Hard is available every time you end up in chase. Every time you end up in chase and you are injured. So that's only just the first 4 times. You're buying 40 seconds for the whole team multiple times a match. You are buying a gen completion with 2 people and half a gen done solo multiple times a match, just because you've brought a perk into the game. And that's why Dead Hard is an issue. That's why Dead Hard is super strong. Because you're right. If you dead hard and you only buy 10 more seconds for your team individually, yeah, that doesn't really matter too much. That doesn't really have widespread effects. But the fact that multiple people in a team bring it, you end up buying half a gen or sometimes a full gen just by having it as a team. Just by having it as a team, that time that you brought in adds up. That time, even if it's only 10 seconds per person that you bought, adds up. And that adds up to completed gens, and it really does. So it's really strange that like people complain about like things like deadlock or corrupt, because it's like when all you do is bring a perk in that eventually just buys gens just because you brought this perk in, like it feels weird to be aggressive towards perks that just defend gens just because you brought it into the game. Because that's all Dead Hard does. And it's hard to make that connection, right, in your brain, because you think, oh, it's just a chase perk. It has nothing to do with gen efficiency. It has nothing to do with making gens go faster. But it does. Because that time saved, because if you didn't have it at all, you got down 10 seconds ago, right? If you don't have that perk at all, the killer hits you when he should have hit you because you either played badly or ran out of resources. And then he hooks you, and he could have been over there to defend that gen. But instead, he's still occupied for 10 more seconds in this chase because you brought a single perk into the video game. Just because you brought one perk. And when the whole team does that 10 seconds on top of 10 seconds on top of 10 seconds on top of 10 seconds, it starts adding up. And when gens only take 80 seconds, that's not good. You are buying extra gens for your team by bringing a single perk into the game. That is what you were doing. And that's why, like, yeah, I will agree that like Dead Hard by itself, one 10-second yeet, one 10-second extension of a chase is not that big of a deal. But people who say it's not strong or isn't that great because of that fail to understand that once multiple people start bringing that 10 seconds on top of 10 seconds on top of 10 seconds really starts adding up. It really starts adding up. And it's just, oh, it's mind-boggling that people don't seem to understand that impact. And this starts to get more complicated too, because once you start thinking about the way it affects certain killers, like with like twins, if you launch at them with Victor, they hit the dead air and then they get hit, they get kicked. They may have to spend way more than 10 seconds in that chase. Way more. Way more. So depending on the character, just bringing one perk in the game could like completely like mess up their power. So yeah, hopefully this gives you a little bit better understanding of like how Dead Hard and other exhaustion perks that can extend the chase for like a really long amount of time, like actually has a greater, wider impact on gen progression. And that is why it's a problem. It's not, you're right, Survivor Remains. Swinging once and missing doesn't really impact that match that much. But if everybody's doing it, or at least a majority of people on the team are doing it, that time does add up. And that's gen time. So that's why the perk is frustrating. And that's why killers are super frustrated at it. I know on the surface, they're just like, you shouldn't be able to just make it to a pallet you were going to make to, especially if you played wrong, which, you know, makes sense. But what they're really mad at is the fact that when you make it to that pallet and the chase keeps going, when it should have ended, that's time that their teammates are on a gen and completing that gen when it should have been being pressured by the killer because he should have already gotten his down and been walking over there. But now he's still in this chase because you brought a perk into the game. That is why it's a problem. That's why it's frustrating. It's not frustrating because of the whiff and then the pallet drop or the whiff and then the window vault. It's frustrating for the time that it buys on gens that shouldn't exist. But yeah, I can rant about that for a long time. And this video is getting pretty long, so I'm just going to can it there. Thank you so much for watching, friendos. What do you think? Do you think that the real reason that Dead Hard is frustrating is because of the time it buys on gens and that's its true power? Or do you really think that whiffing once and having them reach a pallet is really the worst thing about it? Thank you so much for watching, friends. Thank you for spending time with me today. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. But if I don't, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.